Record.
Not yet.
This meeting is being recorded.
You should have recorded that, yeah.
All right. Aloha, family. This is the Beyond Boundaries podcast, where we go beyond the boundaries of the normal bullshit that the mind tells us, the society tells us, and what your mom told you, and we talk about some cooler, deeper, different shit. This is Matt, and this is Drew, and I'm so excited, and we're so excited to have you. So, Matt, Drew, these two beautiful, beautiful beams have been special in my life to me. Drew's been a huge part of my evolution, growth, development, and he's seen me at the lowest peaks of some of my spirit psychosis and craziness, and I think I could probably say the same. So I was thinking about, just to give everybody an idea of who Drew is. Drew's much more than this acting reel, but probably will give a good idea of how fucking cool this guy is. All right, I think I'm about to be muted.
I should have had you show the trailer for Wolfman in the City instead, but yeah.
I could do that right now. We're going to the trailer of Wolfman. Is it in your YouTube?
Yeah, it's the top thing in my YouTube. It's something that, I recently finished. The acting reel, man, I mean, I can talk to you about my journey in that, so it's kind of like a little stalemate right now, as in things have gone different path,
So it's Wolfman then. So let me preface it a little better. This man right here not only funded, but he wrote, directed, produced, and is the star actor.
I didn't direct it, so
okay.
I produced it, wrote it, starred in it. Yeah,
he produced it, he wrote it, and he starred in it, and it's so cool. It's about people like you and me. The people who are watching this, you are the freaking wolf man. Like, you are the person who gets pushed away from society. Everybody thinks you're crazy. The black sheep, maybe not understood, but you got that heart of gold, and you aren't afraid to speak your truth. So they're going to tap in. I'm about to be on mute. Do you have anything you'd like to preface it with, Drew?
That was great, man. Yeah.
Okay. Wait. All right. Boom. Share my audio.
So this is the trailer.
A zombie coalition group, a 9-year-old human girl has been shot in accidents while protesting.
Oh, hear me say this is the trailer. Am I still on?
It happens every night.
Mr. Wolfman,
I'm auditioning for the role of Tavin Blackman.
There are no monsters in this movie.
You are a monster abomination. I'm taking you in.
You gotta watch yourself in a place like this. This is some big boy shit.
Why don't I make you my bitch?
Black Lagoon Nation.
These monsters need to go back under the bed, back into the closet, where they belong.
They're taking our jobs. They're watering down our blood.
I'm sick and tired of people treating me like I'm a nobody.
You're not nobody. You're lots of somebodies.
We're all beings that deserve to be here.
Wow, that was so profound.
Just a couple of freaks out for a nice evening stroll, is it?
Wolfman, look out!
I don't know if anyone has ever told you, your nose crinkles when you when you get upset. It is the funniest.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool, dude.
Good. Cool. Thank you.
So what was your driving force for creating Wolfman?
Well, driving force, just being creative and wanting to entertain people, and always kind of, been, interested in movies, so and then I made one movie which you saw at the end of that, said Redneck Zombie. So I made when I made Redneck Zombie in 2015, and it was kind of the first time after making a lot of stuff, I kind of found my style, right? Of what I wanted to feel like, you know. And then Wolfman was kind of like that on steroids, you know. So there wasn't much dialogue in Redneck Zombie. Redneck Zombie's story about two brothers who live in the zombie apocalypse where nothing much changes. They still hunt, fish, chew tobacco, drink moonshine, right? So it's just like, because my version of the zombie apocalypse, especially in Bumblefuck, it wouldn't be like something like The Walking Dead. It would be something like, you know, if you're two redneck brothers, you know, you'd two rednecks sitting in the woods, you know, you probably wouldn't see much action, you know. So it's kind of a story about them. So and then the Wolfman made that in 2019, and Redneck Zombie, there's really not much they say in it. Really, I wasn't, you know, like, I don't really think I had, or, you know, your voice evolves and creativity, right? As you evolve, you know, so you want to say different things at different times in your life, you know, and same with your art. And with Redneck Zombie, there was really nothing I wanted to say. You know, I did want to say, when you think of rednecks, you usually think of, and I usually ask people this, what do you think of? What do you think of?
Four-wheelers, mudding, shotguns.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, totally. What do they look like? Usually like two dirty old white guys or something like that, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know, so I made one white and I made one black, and they're brothers, you know. So that's not really, you know, just see it for yourself. It's just like a little 10-minute abstract thing. Yeah, so there really wasn't some like a solid message. Then Wolfman, I became really interested in or more interested in politics back when Trump and Hillary were going at it. I found the world to be like, wow. I was like, holy shit, this is, because I'm still into movies. You know, I love movies and like fantasy shit. And I was just like, for the first time, I like took my view off of watching like movies and shit, and was like, I was like, whoa, this is real life. This is fucking awesome. Because it was like a boxing match or something, and I like boxing. So so it was like, it was cool. It was like this heavyweight boxing match, and so I started kind of researching the both of them, you know, and kind of listening more to what was being said, not only from like them, but people, you know, because people were like going at each other's throats at this time, you know, and you'd say something like one thing, you know, it's kind of like COVID or some shit, you know, people are going at each other's throats, and you say like, and it's just increasing, right? But that was like an interesting like ignition, you know, or I'm sure obviously it came long before that, you know, a time in history and human nature, you know. So yeah, you know, they weren't you know, people were just going at each other's throats, you know, and so I wanted to write something that kind of said something more, you know, as the story started off with not much dialogue, kind of like Redneck Zombie, just kind of like man kind of thing, you know. And I love Redneck Zombie probably more than Wolfman in the City, because it's like, it was 10 minutes, so the budget, this is the kind of shit you want to talk about. Are we good? Huh? So it's like, so we good? Everything all right? Yeah. Okay. Moving along.
Yeah.
So, there was like a $6,000 budget. It was easier to shoot. So it was 10 minutes. So it was easier to kind of like really refine it, you know? Whereas Wolfman in the City, you know, I created this thing with, I spent $40,000 on it. I had a team of like 50 plus people of, you know, cast and crew, right? Like I said, I didn't direct it. One of my friends I hired to direct it. Like hired the cinematographer, you know, and we had you can check out some of the little plug, give me a little plug. You can check out stuff on my YouTube page and see the behind the scenes stuff. of it, and kind of see the level of kind of crew we had and what we were creating. It's pretty cool for the amount of money that I spent. and the it was cool.
Yeah, and you were saying that there was like two different messages between those two movies. Was there something that happened in your life that led to wanting to make Wolfman and create this this new message? Was there an event that happened, or just like changes in your own life that led to that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like life's an evolution, like you know, creativity and art is. The like when I was I always kind of made stuff and didn't really have like anything I really cared to say. You know, there's so much in your heart, like deep down, that personally for me as an artist has taken like it's years of like you chip, you know, and because yeah, things happen in your life. But I always kind of considered myself kind of a clown, and like my the way I would entertain people. You know, I was like class clown in high school. I would like do anything for a laugh, and then I went and started studying acting and wanted to learn more serious acting. So I like did like Macbeth and shit like that, you know, and and I have a degree in theater, and then I started making my own stuff. Like right then I made this short film. Keith just texted me before we jumped on this, called Justice, which is like this 10-minute black and white short film. And I didn't really have anything to say. I just wanted to film something, you know. I took someone else
to say in that one. There was something going on there.
Yeah, but I actually took someone else's script. Like that was like someone else wrote that. I was just like, I just want to film something. So I took someone else's writing, because that actually yeah, so that actually was from a 10-minute play festival in college where I directed this 10-minute play, and these guys that I worked with wrote it, and I really liked what was created on the stage, and I tried to recreate what I created on the stage on camera, and I wasn't able to recreate it. Like this style, I found this because I've always like known innately what's funny to me. What I feel like is funny to me is usually funny to other people. Because I like find shit funny. You know, I think life is funny. You know, for the most part, I think life is absurd, funny, beautiful, right? You know, but
yeah, the like combination of comedy horror that you seem to have found yourself in, that, which is such an interesting combination and can be done really well. So I think that's a really cool venture to get into.
Yeah. And I'm not even a big horror fan. Like I like classic monsters, but I don't like I don't care for like Freddy Krueger, Jason. I'm not a big I've seen them all. I've seen them all Halloween. I don't like, you know, I'm not a huge fan of gore, but I could watch like a Japanese samurai slash shit all day long. You know, it's weird. So it's like, but when it comes to like Michael Myers slashing shit, I'm just like, you know,
right,
samurai, you know, it's weird. It's like the same. This motherfucker is still murdering people, right?
Damn, yeah.
Like a different taste of shit, you know. I like different taste. I like Quentin Tarantino, which I never really liked Quentin Tarantino when I first started getting into film, because my film journey, which turned into this other journey, which is where I met Keith, you know, which is kind of like since I made Wolfman, like 6 months later, the journey kind of changed, you know. So I had a 5-MeO DMT experience and in California, and it's like a big, like, you know, it wasn't just like a little dose, like, you know, we're smoking out of a bowl, you know. It was like I went over And I heard of DMT before, but you can't really know anything about DMT, you know, and it's like you can't know what the milk tastes like unless you tasted the milk.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so you yeah. And then I had that experience, and then like a month or 2 months later, I actually met Keith. And I also met this guru named Sri Ravi Shankar, who ever since I had this experience and you know, with the 5-MeO, and then met this like enlightened person, or whatever that is, you know. So it's said that he's enlightened. I don't know, having like had certain experiences, you know. I read this thing by Ram Dass yesterday. It was talking about medicines and plant medicines and shit, you know. It's like it can, you know, these things can like get you to Christ, and you could sit next to Christ for a couple hours, but then it's, you know, it's, you have to like revisit it, and it becomes this kind of like trying to recreate that feeling. A lot of times it's like chasing the dragon, right? Chasing the end of the tail. And did the, you know, did the 5-MeO, had this profound experience as, you know, Christ consciousness. I like saw myself as Neo, and was like, it's like, what? It's like these people in the room with me. I was like, oh, these motherfuckers, they knew it all. I was like, they knew it all along. They knew I was. It's like that that thing you can't explain to someone unless they've never tasted milk. Enlightenment, right? You know that. Oh, and we all know it, but like you can't really, whatever it is. I guess it's the present moment or something, because, you know, like dealing in certain like psychosis. I think Keith said at the beginning of this, you know, it's like the psychosis is the neurosis of keeping you out of the present moment, because the present moment is where all the juice is, you know. And like the past, and all right, you know, I'm sure we've all read all this shit, all these memes that are like, you know, the past keeps you, you know, and whatever, stuck, in the future keeps you anxious, whatever, something, you know, and out of the ultimate vibration of the now.
Yeah, there's nothing like that 5-MeO experience. It's like a pure merge into consciousness. Like you're saying, you kind of realize your unity with consciousness itself, that we're all this one thing. Like you're saying, it's like you go, oh yeah. it's almost like a remembering experience in a way, you know. It feels so familiar.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So that was kind of what led to kind of a transformation in your art, would you say?
Oh, no way, man. Well, I think if I would create some art again, it would. But the last thing I've really done is since 2019 at Wolfman. But, you know, so this was like, you know, I met Keith in Boone, North Carolina, at this health and wellness retreat center called the Art of Living, like on top of a mountain, like 3,500 feet up. Beautiful, one of the most beautiful locations. 300 acres, and when you're up there, they call it the Heavenly Mountain, and you feel like you're somewhere else. You know, you don't feel like you're in Boone, North Carolina.
Right.
Boone's pretty country, so beautiful place. And that so I you know, that I ended up going to this event and filming it. So I was like, this guy that worked on my film Wolfman 6 months prior, or not, sorry, we went 6 months, some months after we initially filmed, I went back and did a reshoot, and this guy, because initially because we filmed for 6 days, initially I had this guy named Manoj Reddy, this Indian fellow was my cinematographer, and then I did a reshoot some months later, and he had to move back to India. His green card was up, so he wasn't allowed to stay here anymore. But he introduced me to a friend of his named Sai Kalyan. So Sai's another Indian fellow. So Sai worked on my film, and we went around filming in Atlanta. We were filming all night. Sai was really enjoying what we were doing. He was just like, wow, it was because we had all this makeup, and it was, and kind of a bigger production. We had like a studio and shit. We had a lot of people, and so it was cool, and being from Atlanta, the film industry is pretty big in Atlanta. So I've had some cool experiences like in the film industry in Atlanta, so I wanted to create something, like professional, as professional as I could, and good. I wanted to make something good that said something, so Sai worked on it, and Sai, we were filming all night, and Sai says it's like 5 a.m. and Sai said, yes,
bro, you must do this program. you must do this program.
Yeah, basically, right? He said yeah, come. He said, yeah, he said, man, I've been meditating all night. We're no, I'm sorry. He said, we've been filming all night. And he said, I worked last night. He's a 9 to 5 guy. And I worked yesterday, and I'm working tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., from 9 to 5, but I've been meditating but I meditated for 20 minutes earlier. So I'm good. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, just meditated for 20 minutes. Okay, cool, man. All right, that sounds good. Yeah, I was like, I'm into that. That's cool. I'm not into it. I didn't really meditate at the time, but I had done a lot of yoga, and I had meditated before, but never really like consciously thought about meditation, like that. Like I hadn't really consciously thought about yoga besides the benefits and how it made my body feel, and just like as an exercise, right? It made me feel good. It helped my back, because I have fucked up my back like 10 years ago. So it was like, it made me feel good. It helped my back. I always had this place that hurt on my back. Am I talking too much? I'm supposed to do this, right? So I had this place on my back. So I had this place on my back that fucking hurt. And because my back went out of me, and it was like hurt for 2 years. And it's like when I started doing yoga, and then after like 2 years of doing yoga pretty solid, it stopped hurting. And I call it white girl yoga, because it's like that's like the kind of yoga that I started learning, which is like the Western style yoga, which is usually taught by middle-aged white girl, so but that's not true. That's just a stereotype, and stereotypes aren't necessarily true. So I just like to play with stereotypes, which is kind of what I did with Wolfman of the City. Because my director is a Muslim, and one of my good friends, his mom's from Chicago, his dad's from Senegal, Africa, and so he's a Muslim, and I don't have exactly the same viewpoints as him, so but we have many viewpoints, that are the same, we're good friends. Good friends don't have to see everything the same, right? The world would be, someone else said this, I don't know where I heard it, the world would be boring if everybody if everybody thought the same fucking thing. And that's like the interesting thing about politics, kind of why I made Wolfman, because everybody's like, oh, well, you gotta think like this, and you gotta believe this, and you gotta it's like, dude, it's like, that's not how it works. Because it's like, one of the things, the experience that I had on 5-MeO, the guy that had dosed me, we did my human design chart before. And I'm not necessarily saying that, what's true or what's not, but the interesting perspective about human design is that, everybody has their own fingerprint. Nobody has my fingerprint. That's kind of wild, actually. So there's like this unique design, right, taking place in everything that's the same, but there's like a unique detail to everything. It's all the same, but it's not. It's kind of, I don't know what to think about that, but I've thought about it, right?
Yeah, the diversity simultaneously union, so it's like there's so much diversity, and that's kind of what allows it to continue to function, you know, is that diversity, is the different, you know, viewpoints, the different shapes that we all are, you know, all the different things. That's what makes life interesting, you know. So yeah, that's really cool too, to you know, create a movie, especially during a time when everybody was like that, you know, when everybody's saying like, oh, this is the way it is, or this is the way it is, you know, you got to think this, or this is good, this is evil, you know. But really, it's much more interesting and much more fun, I would say, when we learn from each other. Like, oh, what do you think about this? Oh, how did you reach that conclusion? You know, and then we begin to learn from each other, see each other in these new ways, and then like that's real growth. You know, that's what allows us to expand our minds, our creativity, our, you know, open our hearts in that way. And then we're not so divisive or, you know, fighting each other. That hasn't really got us anywhere to do that. So it's like, you know, when we can come to these points where we understand that, like, oh, it's actually cool that other people are different than me, you know. It makes life much more fun.
Yeah, definitely. Man, it's like I was just in Temecula, California for a couple of months with some friends, and just the dynamics of everybody. And we were in this kind of isolated spot. My buddy Ryan Hughes has 30 acres of off-grid, and he's built a couple cottages in the desert. But yeah, just like people, we're so interesting, you know. If you could really like just sit in the room with people authentically, you know, how you are like by yourself. You know, it's like, and be able to, you know, be comfortable, and be able to express yourself, but however, you know, it's like, but yeah, people are interesting, you know, because it's stifled almost. You can express yourself and you can be authentic with people, but then there's this other, like, there's another perspective, you know. So there's a different attention, you know. It's like the camera is really interesting. Like the camera itself is really interesting, you know, like, because when the camera's on you, you know, it's usually like someone's watching you and someone else is in the room with you, right? You know how you act, and you want to, and I think for someone like me or Keith, or it was Matt, cool. Or yourself, you know, we're like interested in talking about these experiences and like finding that authenticity, you know, within ourselves. Because like how Keith opened this up is like, it's like bullshit, right? You know, it's like this bullshit and this bullshit, you know, and it's like finding the authenticity within the layers of bullshit, you know. And it's like having these experiences, and it's like, whoa, everything is an illusion, you know. And it's like, whoa, what? You know. And it's like, well, and then the question, like this a guru would ask you. I have so many interesting thoughts around the guru, and my experience that I had when I had met Keith there. And
wait, are you still on the kill the guru kick, or are you back from that?
No, I'm back from that, but it's like something also does make sense about that, you know, right? There's been a lot of interesting thoughts about that I've had about Sri Ravi Shankar and my experience with the art of living, you know. And it's like I lived there for a year and a half, and you know, my brother dying up there while I was up there too, you know. It was like, so the beginning of, I had like a decade of art, like Matt asked me like if I'm something earlier about how is certain things like led to, have I created, I haven't created like really shit since Wolfman. And I've been on this like kind of like spiritual revelation, and it just keeps unfolding and unfolding and unfolding, right? You know, as you can see your art do over like a decade, then you start seeing when you become, because I've always been interested in the mind anyway, and it's like then actually focusing on a question this guru would ask you, which is, who am I? Who am I? And you find that once you start asking that question, and you can like continue asking that question over and over and over again. It can come up in different points in your life because it's like the onion, something else, year later, something happens, a feeling, something, a thought you never thought, or, right? Experience you never experienced. So it's like there's like a knowing of who I am within the question of who am I.
Like that question itself continues to expand. Like each time you ask yourself, you're finding a different part of yourself.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. When you really like ask it, and because that the awareness begins to expand, when you start having certain experiences, or when you just ask a question. It's not even with of course it is with the experiences in life, but when you just start asking a thought, that thought expands, like a script in a movie. It's like you have a thought, an idea, and you put it on paper, and then bam, now it turns into something, and it just kind of like starts snowballing, and so when I had that experience in 2019, after I made Wolfman, and then started looking at yoga and then meditation and breath work and all this stuff in a different way, and then started looking at the world kind of differently, and a lot of the stuff I was experiencing with at the place that me and Keith met, they talk about like stuff like called doshas and Ayurveda, and they talk about like some Avatar: The Last Airbender stuff. Awesome, yeah. And they talk about the elements, and they talk about the elements, and like earth, air, fire, water, space, ether. Even though Avatar didn't have space and ether, it said the four. But they talk about these things like they're real, and I had always like dug this stuff because I love stuff like Avatar, The Last Airbender. I love like Japanese animation. I spent 5 weeks in Japan studying film like 10 years ago, just like 5 weeks. And which was basically like being in Japan, sitting in a classroom, watching movies, discussing them, and then experiencing Japan. Right. So I've always like dug this kind of like, I love Dragon Ball Z, right? Like Dragon Ball Z is like one of the shows that really like got me into anime. I started so for me, and I only like particular ones, but Japanese animation is one of the best styles it's one of my favorite like mediums to tell a story. I love the Japanese, how good they are at being like super serious, but then really funny, right? They have like a character that's like he's like really funny, he's joking around, but then he like hurt his friend, and then he's gonna kick your ass, right? So but these shows like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto, The Last Airbender, they talk about chakra, and then these people at the Art of Living, which were like Indian, mostly Indian, derived from Indian. They talk about the chakras, right? They talk about this stuff, and then you start meditating yourself. You start doing breath work yourself, then you start like kind of becoming more interested in the philosophy, because there's more of a part of belief and a realistic element. Because if someone else can believe something, and then it's like these people actually believe this, and we're in this kind of world, you know, like the USA or the Western world or whatever, not there's anything good or bad about it, but it's like an interesting system in a matrix. You know, we know that the medical system is fucked, right? It's not that Western medicine can't bring people back to life and do good things for people, but we know that it's better to get to the root of the problem by doing things like eating certain foods, blah 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 blah, right? And it's not like you're not like eating greens all the time and eating fruits and shit, and tomorrow you don't walk out and get hit by a fucking bus, right? It's like people die when they die, but it's yeah, there's definitely so
yeah, that part you're talking about where it's kind of like things that you've heard about maybe in movies or referenced in anime or in superhero movies and stuff like this. And then, like you're saying, then you get an experience like something like 5-MeO, and then you start meditating and you actually start kind of like studying these teachings and realize like, oh, this is what life actually is. Like you're saying, it's like you have this kind of society and this structure that's built around us that just tells us that it's all about, get money, find the house, find the partner, the whole, trip of it, the American dream, right? And, and you can get all that stuff and it's great. There's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. But that once you kind of tap into this other realm, this kind of this other side to life, like you're saying, then you have all the stuff, and then you're still like, but wait, like something always seems to be missing when you're just kind of like chasing the material world. And then you kind of get into meditation, you start like feeling the energy in the body, and you start learning how to utilize the energy of the body, and it kind of like opens up life in such a new way where it's like, it starts to look more like what those movies were. You start to feel like a character in Dragon Ball Z or something. It's like makes everything really really interesting. It's like adding the expansion pack to the video game.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you're a lot of times when I'm sitting when I am able to like be in the present moment, which I have a lot lately, but it kind of feels, sometimes you can feel like, I mean, you are like kind of tripping, like this is all like a trip, and you can like feel that in the present moment, when man, I had this like the night before I left Temecula, and I was in Guango. We were in the desert, and we were doing psilocybin a few times out there. And like the night before we left, we just did a little bit, and it's just in the desert, man. This beautiful place, this beautiful experience with beautiful people that I know, and one Ryan who owns the place. This guy's a world champion motocross rider, and he I met him and spent time with him, and met him back in 2019 actually, when I did 5-MeO DMT. He was there that night.
Oh wow.
So this place, his spot was like, just, man, it was awesome. But I was gonna say I went and laid down by myself because there were just 3 or 4 of us there that last night. I went and laid down by myself in this bed in this tent that he has in this upper area, because you've got a few different places to sleep. He's got a couple cottages there, and this moment, like, man, and it's like sometimes you try, and that's why like I was talking about, sometimes we'd like do that medicine and want to do it again because that feeling is like, wow, that feeling, man, if you can, but it's like remembering that feeling is here, and just being aware of it and just acknowledging it is a good step to expanding it, right? You know, that it's really, but I was like, I laid down in the feeling, I laid down in bed, and man, it was just like so peaceful, so beautiful. The sounds of, you know, the little insects, the birds late at night, so quiet. It never felt so quiet. It was like, I forgot why I was telling you this, but it was like, wow, man, it was whatever we were talking about before that led into that. But
yeah, the Avatar, The Last Airbender in real life with Ayurveda, and how we're actually like just all characters in Dragon Ball, tripping balls in life on our
tripping
own.
balls.
Yeah.
I liked what you said there, though. It's like that it had never felt so quiet. That's a really interesting point to make there. That like you can really slip into silence and how beautiful that is. You know, that the silence or like the absence of sound can actually be super comforting. You know, it's like so often we use the sounds around us, or you know, music, TV, just talking to each other, all these things to kind of maybe escape what the mind does in silence. But that when you find that when you go directly into the silence, that it really creates such a peaceful feeling is that's a profound statement in itself, to find peace in the silence.
Man, that silence is super powerful. I never realized how much chatter and neurosis was in the head until probably this past year. Yeah, and then you realize, like, within the silence there actually is no silence. There's always like there's some kind of buzzing. There's some kind of buzz.
Yeah.
Right? There's a vibration, you know. So
yep.
But yeah, we know was that when I was on that mountain, my brother passed away. You know, Keith had a good friend pass away at this time. You know, you know, and actually, I know that he actually like was the first person to find him too. Isn't that right, Keith?
Like second, we just cleaned all the shit that the cops didn't clean up. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty traumatic, you know, and like, you know, so, but when my brother passed, you know, I kind of like felt like it. After kind of like being on that mountain and being in this kind of like really the most zen I'd felt in my life, because I got to the mountain, and then 5 months later, after working there, because I ended up getting a job there and working doing video production for their marketing team, and after being there for 5 months, COVID happened, and we went from 130 employees to 15 employees, and I was one of the ones kept on for their marketing team. So it was like a year up there, isolated on top of a mountain in 300 acres. And I couldn't ask for a better place, because I was sitting here perched up on this hill, like watching this movie go down about, you know, it's like, and seeing everybody like, you know, freaking out and shit. And I was just like, think it's going to be all right, you know? And
yeah.
But it was all right for me,
uh-huh.
You know? So, I got to experience later on what other people were experiencing, you know? So it's like, cause I try to like, trying to get off track of what I was saying, but I was like, coming back sometime later, wanting to get back into, the TV and film industry in Atlanta, certain things that I don't necessarily agree on that is being mandated, you know, and that's kind of screwed, you know? So, I can't really like audition and pursue acting without like a pass, right? You know, for the situation that, you know, for the
my body, my choice.
Yeah, for the pandemic, you know, so whatever that is. Obviously, history repeats itself, you know, because we forget. So we need to be reminded. So something like within the evolution of human nature, or earth itself will remind us. We'll wake the fuck up again. And then we'll probably go back to sleep, and then we'll wake the fuck up, and we'll go back and wake the fuck, right? You know, it's like
it's a cycle.
Yeah. How do you get out of it? I'm not sure. I've been seeing a lot of shit lately about don't go into the light. Don't go into the light because
yeah, they all got some shit to say about it.
They all got some shit to say, man. You know, so it's like after my brother passed, what kind of happened to me is like I acted like it didn't really affect me, and I left the mountain, you know, and I started like spinning on these ideas, you know, the stuff that I was learning, and then this like experience that I had. And I also did, so I did 5-MeO once, and it was like, whoa, the most wild experience I've ever had in my entire life. And then I did it for a second time in October of COVID. And then on October of COVID, and when it first started in 2020. And then I did it for a second time, then with the same person in California. And then I did it for a third time a few months after my brother passed, because I decided I should leave this mountain, you know. Because at this point, one thing I did on the mountain, I was still kind of piecing together my movie Wolfman. But one thing I kind of did on the mountain was like, because it was such a process, because I wasn't editing it. And I actually went through 3 different editors to find the right guy who was able to do it well. He did a great job. Because I have like a 30-minute film, you know, and he also edited that trailer together, and it was like it was really well done. But you know, I ended up you know, doing it for a third time, because I left the mountain because I wasn't on the mountain. I was like, yeah, I started kind of really getting into these practices and being more intrigued by these concepts, and was like, so even though I still felt a strong desire to create, I kind of like stopped auditioning, you know, because I was still auditioning some when I was up on that mountain for TV and film roles. And I kind of stopped auditioning. And then I was like, I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to let it all happen. You know, I'm not going to try and force it so much. I'm just going to let it happen, you know, and kind of not be too attached to my movie or who I always kind of thought I was as like an artist, right? You know, because it's an interesting, you know, evolution. I think being an artist is like a lot of, it's like a study of one's own self, a study of one's, you know, others, a study of the world. You know, lots of people stop pursuing that kind of evolution within themselves, and you see them, you know, they get fat, they get right complacent, they're sitting, you know, it's like doing the same thing every day, thinking the same thoughts every day, and you know, and like much of our society is, you know, it's like at least a large portion of it, you know, it's like kind of not in that kind of pursuit of knowing thyself, right? Which is
it's a scary venture.
yeah, it is really.
Are you ready to die?
Say what?
Are you ready to die daily and practice death as a life ritual?
Yeah, I thought about that today, dude. Actually, you know, like what you're. Because when someone close to you dies, you start thinking about death in a different way too, you know. So then it's life's interesting, right? You know, anyway, I can continue going on with story after story, you know, and like tell you about, you know, this and that.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. We want to hear about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's let's see, like so your journey into creating films and becoming an artist in that way, and that was something. So you just kind of were like, oh, I want to create a movie. You found the script that you felt like you could use and had some meat to it, and then started there with creating the Justice.
Yeah, and I didn't really think the script actually had no meat to it. So what made me like it, I did a stage play of it, and that's when I first, because we did this 10-minute play festival. So they had 10 directors, which I was one, and they had 20 playwrights pair up in twos and write 10 scripts. And then they had each had 3 actors in it, no more than 3 actors. So it was my senior year of college. I kind of like was always like a clown in high school and shit, fucking off, never really took anything like acting seriously. I quit football my senior year to do a play, and my coach was like, Giles, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like I'm gonna be an actor, coach. He's like, oh, whatever. It's like, but the play that I did in high school was just like, I remember putting on a mustache, like put on this, gluing on this, and it was this like period piece, this like Halloween ghost story. And I just was like, I could make a crowd laugh, so like a bunch of my friends were in the crowd too. And I just, and they caused such an uproar. They were asked to leave, a lot of my friends were asked to leave, and the people that I was doing the play with, because I wasn't really involved with too many of the theater people. A lot of the theater people were pissed at me because of my friends, and it's like, because they were so rowdy, and I thought it was hilarious, they were, because, you don't go, but they were just laughing, like cracking up, they were probably all stoned too, so, but that was in high school. So I did this, in college, I wanted to learn how to really be an actor. So I was like, because there's always like that, I think when it comes to the clown, Keith knows this well. There's like, we're ha ha ha, right? But then there's this deathly serious side to us, it's like, so, and I think that comes with a lot of comedians and funny people, they're really like a lot of like Adam Sandler, a lot of funny people are really great at dramatic roles, and but I did this 10-minute play fest, and I wanted to do you're put a bid in on which script you want. The 10 directors put a bid on which script they want, and there were 8 funny scripts and 2 like dramatic ones. And I was like, cool, I want to do something funny this time, because I've been taking myself too seriously, and like learning I want to learn to be an actor. I wouldn't take myself that seriously, but I was like, and like I want to do something funny this time, and so I put in my bid for one of the funny ones, and I got back the one I didn't want, a dramatic one, a serious one, right? It was like this melodrama shit, and I was like, fuck, this sucks. So I picked my actors, and then we went and rehearsed. You have like a 24 hours to rehearse, and like the next day you put on the play. And we're rehearsing, and I'm like, man, this sucks. It's just like fucking sucks. It's like this melodrama of, and you can watch the 10-minute short if you want, and like it's just like
you're still talking about Justice,
the black and white one. Yeah.
Okay, wait. So, and hey, Tony, please get out of here. You're not supposed to be here. Who is?
I don't know. Yeah.
What was the name of the guy?
What's the name of the guy?
Of both guys. That
Rob. So Rob was the guy that I played in the black and white one. And then there's Mick. Oh no, not very. So Rob, his name was Rob. So the guy walks in. but it was funny. So on like the film, like that's a fine little piece of media right there. You know, it means something to me, but it's not like anything like Wolfman or like Redneck Zombie. Like I'm like, man, these things to me are cool. You know, it's like, and justice means something to me, but I never really like share it with many people, right? You know, it's like if you want to see like well, you talk about the evolution's cool, you know, of the artist. Man, I just watched this documentary I'm going to send you called Young Lean. Do you know who Young Lean is?
Yeah.
My buddy Babacar, who directed Wolfman, you know, I sent him this little meme of the Star Wars thing, and it had Young Lean's music in the background. He's like, "Oh, I love Young Lean," and then he sent me this documentary about Young Lean, who has this really awesome story about his evolution as an artist. It just talks about, he's like 20.
Yo, can I please play a song, part of a song at least real quick?
I don't care. Go ahead, man.
For those of you who don't know who Young Lean is, this was my childhood, popping Xanax, listening to this guy, thinking.
But it was like nothing his audio, it's like nothing I'd ever listened to. And then I watched this documentary, and I'd listen to his music. He's got some good stuff.
I got an empire of emotional sports and me cruising in my go-kart. I'm Warhol, I'm Wario when I'm in Mario Kart. Topping the charts, facing my cards, chop on my luck when I'm running these bars. Coca-Cola veins, I'm insane, trip through memory lane. Out in that rush, you know, and I
He's Swedish, and he raps about American stuff, but doesn't really like. He doesn't. It's funny,
yeah.
But he also like he gets into turn on the song "Agony," man, because you got some like stuff that like gets in. He starts expressing himself. His evolution. He starts expressing himself differently once he goes through shit. He starts going through some shit. He starts expressing himself differently.
Yeah.
I'm the last
He's got a cool kind of evolution.
I write a song, only do hooks. Watching horses in the fields.
Yeah, watching the evolution of an artist is really great. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
He does Arizona commercials now?
Nah, he just likes things like things like Arizona iced tea. So he like puts Arizona iced tea in his videos and like raps about Arizona iced tea.
I'm a young loving pervert, accidentally falling cause I wanna see that skirt in.
So my buddy Bab, like he loves hip hop. You know, so I sent him that, and I love it. Send me this documentary. The documentary is really great. I highly recommend this film. I actually just watched over the past couple of days. I actually just finished it before I got on with you guys, so it was really good. Talking about his evolution, and he's got a cool little story, and he's young, man. He started, you know, from like got famous when he was like 15, 16, and you know, and lots of drugs, and you know, coming to the US, and then he gets, you know, one of his crew members, one of them, you know, they get into some shit in Miami, then one of his crew members passes away, you know, and this is just like, and he finds himself in a psych ward, you know. He actually found himself in the psych ward before his buddy passed away, and it's like the night he put himself in night he went into the psych ward, his buddy passed away, and then they go back to Sweden, and you know, so he's 20, like around 20 years old now, and it's just his little mentality is, you know, shifting, you know, so it's cool evolution. I highly recommend the film. We'll put the link right here. You guys check that out.
Yeah, so I have another thing that I would love your commentary on, since we're on the topic of shitty SoundCloud rappers. I don't know how Beyond Boundaries just turned into this, but we're
Yeah.
gonna run with it for tonight.
Let me introduce you to Jesus. Let me introduce you to Jesus. He's got so much love for you that he opened up his arms and gave his life for you. Lil' Keith on the beat, boy.
Jesus, Jesus, Christo, Jesus, swagger. Jesus, Jesus. I fuck plenty hoes like I'm Jesus Christ. Turn Sprite into bowl like I'm Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. Prostitution is my life, bitch, I'm Jesus Christ.
Whoa. I don't know where you found that. That's some late night searching right there.
No, it's my favorite rapper, bro. Dude, it used to be my favorite rapper, bro. Like for real. So he just made music with Young Lean.
Yeah, man, and it's all connected, right? Because we're talking about Christ consciousness earlier, and they're rapping about Jesus, and then it's like, you know, some young so yeah. So
that's impressive.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to hear too. You said that that the movie, the short film Justice, had a meaning to you that you hadn't really expressed before. What is?
No, Wolfman in the City had a meaning to me I hadn't really expressed before, and that's just like I got a lot of dialogue in my head and a lot of stuff to say, and I usually I say a lot and I'm loud, but a lot of times I don't actually say exactly what I want to say, you know. So I'm becoming like better at, you know, doing that as I go along, you know, because we're like molded by the bullshit, you know. You have to like you know, peel those onion layers back to find that authenticity within yourself, because a lot of times you're saying shit, and the shit that you're saying isn't even like coming from your own head, you know. Most of it's not, you know. So it's like goes back to the interesting question of like, who am I, you know. So it's like I just kind of expressed myself more in Wolfman, whereas Redneck Zombie there wasn't really any dialogue, and then Wolfman there was a bunch of dialogue, you know. And it was about these characters and these meeting, you know, and the stuff that was going on in the world, right? Because like, while he's going about his business, there's like the media's playing and the media's saying this, you know, and the politicians are saying that, and these people are saying this, you know, and these people are angry, and these, you know, and then there's like him, and he just kind of wants to go about his business, you know. And he's like, you know, whatever, you know. But he has a friend who's Frankenstein person. She's a stitched together person, you know. So she has multiple perspectives, right? Because has different people, right, inside of her. So she's a stitched together person, and, you know, broken, right? Anyway, but he doesn't care about the stuff that's going on. There's protests, and there's monsters fighting for their rights, because it's kind of like the civil rights movement, you know. But she does, and although he doesn't care about it, you know, she has a perspective, and like I was saying earlier, they can still be friends and not share the same perspective, you know. And they're like the monsters, right? And then the humans in it are kind of like the bad guys, you know, and are more like the antagonist in it, you know. So yeah, and there's some cool layers in it, but and then I wrote a bigger universe out of it. I actually have have rewritten everything and recast people, including myself. I want to because I
like going to be in one of those, right?
Totally, man. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. I'd love to get like $50,000, $100,000 and shoot like a really solid 22-minute pilot. Like, find someone else that wants to give me money to film my idea, right? Which is hard to do, but not impossible. Yeah, so I just kind of expressed myself more, and then I had friends to express myself with. I created the world, but I wrote it, right? And I wrote it with 2 other people, right? Like I created it. I basically wrote all the scenes, wrote all the characters, but I had 2 friends who were in the credits, help fill in some gaps. We had some fun with it, collaborating with each other. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I haven't seen the full film, but I was watching the trailer, and I like the concepts in it, and I like the way, like you're saying, like creating this realm of, a whole nother universe where it's like it's talking about what this life is about, but using this kind of like fantasy realm world, which kind of like goes back to what we were saying earlier too, of I'm kind of like merging those 2 realms together, like the reality and the fantasy, and seeing how like they really talk to each other in that way. They're references to each other, and I think that's something too. It's like we almost kind of just recently went through another civil rights movement, right? Like a second round of that.
Yeah, but right, exactly. Right, it's like the LGBTQ coming up, the gay rights, the women's, the Black Lives Matters, all this stuff, right? So it's like a second round, like what he's saying, which is interesting. But to me, the second round was not nearly as serious as the first round, but it's interesting. It's like, so you have all this, yeah, exactly, man. It's like, yeah. So I created it during that time of this, like, kind of like second round of essentially, and I'm one of them, right? The freaks coming out, and people like really expressing themselves in ways that's like, and kind of like new and unique ways, right? There's like so many different factions and divisions and like thoughts of people, and I'm this and I'm that, and I'm, and like people defining themselves as, there's a lot of like definitions going on, and it's like, which is really like beautiful and interesting, but at the same time, it's like an illusion too. It's like actors on a stage,
Yeah,
which we all are, man. How far does that illusion go? It's like, I'm Drew, right? I was like born, right? Drew, I'm Drew Giles, my parents, it's like I was born Hugh and Julie, it's like, but like really, then it goes back to that question
what's your pronouns?
Then it goes, no, fuck the pronouns, bro. Then it goes back to the question we were talking about, earlier, which is who am I, which is way beyond fucking pronouns.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that I have no idea how any of that works, and that's just where I set my cards. I don't need to act like or bluff and act like I got a good hand there. Who am I? I have no fucking idea. But somehow, like, my brain right now is telling my food to digest the big ass meal I just ate. And my body's doing that somehow. So whoever I am must have something to do with that. But that's not something that I could understand. And then who I am in this flesh suit, I like kicking bags and singing and screaming and rapping and doing this talking thing that we're doing. But like in 10 years from now, like you were saying, who am I and how will that have evolved then? And I think life's just this cool thing of like that picture right there. It's like constant, like constant die as in rebirth. Like you're always transforming and transcending the past, present moment. And I was just having a discussion with my roommate earlier about how the present moment, like time isn't linear. But then I was like, okay, well, yeah, maybe time is not linear, but from my brain and having experienced like reality through having memory of past times and anticipation for future times, time maybe isn't linear on the plane of like whatever the same infinite light particle or intelligence that's creating everything is always like that thing isn't seeing life through the same kind of linear time that I am. We're still here in the 3D plane where we have time and we have memory and we're experiencing life through time and with our memory. So I guess what I'm saying here is that anybody who in time, through time, has identified as one absolute or the other, I'm sure we all noticed how that changes. Like one back in the day, I listened to Young Lean, and I was popping Xanax, smoking big backwoods, thinking, "Oh, bro, I'm so cool, Young Lean and Ruben Slick and gang," and then time happened, and then something else happens, and then now I'm like looking at these Indian mystic meditator dudes as not Sadhguru anymore. Fuck Sadhguru. Sorry, all my Isha friends, but nobody's trying to be
yeah,
popular.
because he told people to get the jab.
Not only that, dude, I just saw today, he like openly said at the World Economic
Today?
I'm sorry, I gotta pull this shit up. So
this is
this
something
like
he said today.
This is a really unique Beyond Boundaries. We've never went like this, but we're gonna run it.
Beyond the boundaries of Beyond Boundaries.
Yeah. Beyond boundaries, there's no boundaries, right?
Right.
I'll be right back. I'm still right here.
Here's video from the World Economic Forum India Economic Summit in 2019. Just giving the game away, clip number 8.
So in the session we just attended here at the Economic Forum, I think there was a sense of relief, actually, in your frankness. You brought up some issues that others are reluctant to bring up.
Always. All the religious groups are against me because I'm talking about population. They want more souls. I want less on the planet.
Yeah, I saw that. So you just had seen that today, right?
Yeah, they just
yeah.
That was like hype that people started posting about that out of nowhere today.
Yeah. I'd seen that. I think that was from, it said actually that said May 2022. So but yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? Yeah.
Well, maybe he was talking about he wants everybody to unite as one soul, and we're just out of context.
Right. I thought about that too, because it's like these gurus got to get basically the gurus say that this is all an illusion, right? Like it's all an illusion, right? That's what they say, right? Which is interesting, like something it is, but it isn't, I don't know, but they say that, so maybe you're right. Maybe he's just like, yeah, fucking, he just wants, I don't know what the fuck he's saying. Yeah, but something like that, maybe, right? It's like
We need to all remember we're just one soul.
Exactly right. So it doesn't matter, right? It's kind of what he's saying, right? But then it does matter, doesn't it? It's kind of like, well, there's an interesting question going on in the world right now, which is like, and you see it in movies like the Avengers, for instance. I used to collect Marvel comics. I love a really great movie. I just saw the movie Amsterdam a few days ago with Christian Bale. That was good. It was artistic, right? Nothing, but I still love these Marvel blockbuster shit, right? And but like the questions raised in questions that are being raised in society right now are like, would you press the button, and are humans considered a virus? So should they be wiped out? Right? You know, are humans plaguing the earth, you know, creating global warming, climate change, whatever the fuck they're calling it, right? You know, so it's like, you know, are people, you know, so there's like movies like the Avengers are asking this question. You know, you have like the Avengers who are like the universe police, right? You know, and the good guys, and then you have Thanos, who's the bad guy, and you know he's trying to collect this. He's trying to collect these stones that fit onto this glove, so he can, you know, wipe out half of the universe, like half of the universe's population, right? Mm-hmm. Like asking these questions, and then as you go on in your journeys and travels, you meet people, and you meet people who are would probably press the button, you know, and like, because that question's being raised, it's like, well, the world's fucked, and you know, and everything's fucked, you know, and there's all, you know, so it's like, and people are a virus, and people should fucking die, you know, because they're doing this and they're doing that, right? You know, there's people are saying this shit, and people always have said this shit, you know, so there's nothing like new about, you know, like the end of times, you know, it's like, you know, but it's like interesting that's like, yeah, that's a question. Why are we talking about that? Hey, check this out. This pipe I got, Ryan gave me, Hughes in California. He gave me this awesome. I've been smoking tobacco out of it. Not right now though.
I feel like we're on Joe Rogan right now. all we got to do is just like get Joey Diaz here.
Okay. Do your Joey Diaz.
Okay, guys, it's Monday morning, and it's time to stop fucking around. You gotta write down your goals. You gotta get your lazy ass up, fucking cocksucker, and you gotta grab your balls, and you wake up, and you take your knife, you take your Vaseline, and you go cutting throats in America.
Is this the guy on Instagram?
Yeah.
You got like a dog with him? Does he usually have a dog? Anyway, yeah. I think I know who you're talking about. I just saw that guy like a month ago. I think I started following him. Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah, Joey Diaz is great.
Oh, Joey Diaz, the dude from The Sopranos.
Bro, on the way to the gym, bro. This is what I do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the dude from The Sopranos. Yeah, he's a comedian. Yeah. Yeah, this guy. Never mind. I had the wrong guy at first, but this guy, yeah.
No name. It's always good to be out in the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name because it's Monday, cocksuckers, and you better come prepared because they don't fuck around on Monday. Monday, most people come in. I had such a great weekend. Oh my God, my friends are so fun. Go fuck yourself. That was then. This is now, bitch. It's a whole new set of rules. It's Monday. If you ain't waking up with the taste of blood in your fucking mouth like a shark 5 feet from the shore, you fucked up. You understand me? Because Monday is when you go. Everybody else is like still from the weekend. You fucking go eat their fucking lunch. They don't even know. They're not even thinking right. But you're out the box like a fucking fireman. You understand me? Uncle Joey here, ready to throw fucking heat this week. Podcast tonight at 8. Fucking
You guys need to make little promos for your podcast like that. Kashi, like, throw some fucking heat tonight. Podcast at 8.
Oh man. Yo, but dude, what a guy, you know, like it's the perfect thing that we were talking about earlier, like the horror movie that's also a perfect comedy and romantic film. And like I love like throwing in the horror movie side of it, but you know, people like David Goggins and Joey Diaz and some of these more like kind of, you know, intense characters. Oh, and that's why I love martial arts, is it really gives me that like bloodthirsty on the shark 5 feet from the shore, but like it's not really like I want to hurt anybody or anything, but it's that inevitable modulation of energy that's going to be perceived within everybody. We all have the 3 gunas in us. So when we have that super Raja guna, which you could tell maybe today I'm feeling a little bit more of that, because I've just been on nonstop go. I did get to meditate today, but I've been like working out so hard and doing all this shit and content, creating content, thinking and writing. And now my brain is like, every time I meditate, it's like, thank fucking God you're meditating, bro, because you needed to meditate, because I've been so active that my brain, like usually I don't dream because before I didn't have any projects or tasks that I was actually working towards. So I would not dream at night because I would just be in infinite deep sleep. And when I wake up, I could just like turn on like softness and gentle bliss. But now that I have so much shit that I'm doing, it's like I dream about my work now. Like I go to sleep and I have dreams about like teaching people breath work and like all the shit that we're doing the next day. So it's crazy. But what was really cool about it is then you let yourself, instead of before I used to be like, I would be like, oh no, like I don't want to do that because I'm gonna like renounce the world or something more than I'm actually like capable of doing at this point. But now I'm like, yo, it's Monday, bitches. It's time to grab your balls. We're going to the gym. We're doing leg day, and we're going back and hitting the bag with the high intensity interval training. Like it's go time. It's Monday, bitches. So that's where my mind's really been at, and I love that duality of it. Instead of acting like, oh no, I'm just like this. Because Drew, for just so you can get caught up a little, the Beyond Boundaries podcast pretty much so far has just been mostly about like guru consciousness and like softness, stillness, sweetness, calmness, happiness, tranquility, yoga, meditation, 0 point energy, like quantum mechanics and like all the spiritual part of spirit. But as we've said in previous podcasts, and shouts out to Illuminati Congo for saying this, but matter, everything spirit and matter, spirit, everything spirit, pretty much. Every single thing that exists is spirit. So I love now being able to like not give a rat's ass what anybody's gonna try to tell me about who's this or how it's supposed to be that, how the rules of the game works, because now I know it's like I get to live with myself and I get to see who I am throughout the day. And you could totally be totally immersed in matter and still be very connected and made of spirit and focused while you're in matter, in your inner spirit, and being able to like paint the picture through that. So I've just found myself like having a lot more freedom lately with being able to project these like fun horror things or like kind of hardcore, not what people think is spiritual shit.
Yeah, I think it's like being introduced to like the like light workers or like the light community, and there's like something to obviously like we are light, but then we are darkness too, it's like Carl Jung said that the tallest tree or something, you've probably read this, right? The roots reach to something about like
the height.
Yeah, the roots reaching to hell, like how far the roots go is how closer to sun the tree, whatever. You get what I'm saying, right? I think if this is like a spiritual channel, everybody's already read this shit, so
Yeah.
right. So but I think I've been thinking about this. Yeah, you have to acknowledge the darkness, I think, to really be, and then some of that kind of expansion we were talking about earlier, to acknowledge this. Well, then you could say, yeah, it expands. I'm not saying necessarily the darkness expands, but the more you acknowledge the darkness, the more you acknowledge the light, so the light also expands too. Really cool thing about darkness and light is even like the smallest flicker, like a candle, like can light up, a dark space. You ever seen The Never Ending Story?
Yeah.
Keith, you ever seen The Never Ending Story?
Yeah. That's a really weird
this
story,
is
man.
good for all you spiritual nuts and me too, because I'm one of you, you know. But the never ending story is great because it's like talks about going back to movies, and movies are awesome because there's so many metaphors in movies, you know, stories, you know, so they're all metaphors like the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, all these interesting whatever. So what was I talking about? The
never ending story.
Oh, the never ending, yes. So the never ending story, you know, it's talk, we're talking about the darkness, and the never ending story is about the nothingness coming over and taking over everything, right?
Mm.
And the nothingness is like sadness, you know. It's like, and once the sadness, you know, creeps into your heart, even the littlest like bit of sadness, then it can, you know, overwhelm you. And you know, that's a trait you has this horse Artex, you know, in the swamp of sadness or whatever it's called, and this horse sinks because it's one sad thought, you know. And the nothingness is coming over and trying. This is like the age-old battle of light and dark and consciousness, and that like kind of like urge in ourselves, that like animalistic kind of like urge, you know, just to like eat food, you know. How the mind kind of changes to how, like, you know, I'm doing this cleanse, right? I'm like, I haven't eaten food all day, you know, but I could fucking scarf down a horse right now, that like different, like other side, you know, of which this not like dark to it, but yeah, it's interesting. It's like eat world, like the snake again is like eating itself, you know. It's like whether you're a vegetarian or you're a you eat meat, you know, it's like it's still like eating itself. Everything's still like eating itself, you know. I don't know what the fuck I said that for, but someone that's like, oh, then the nothingness, you know, it's in the movie, the nothingness comes and it wipes out everything. Everything's dark, right? You know, the hero doesn't save the day, you know, the light doesn't come through, the darkness comes, which is in the form of this like wolf, and ends up like, you know, killing, like basically taking out and everything's dark. You think the story's over, right? But it's not. You know, there's this one speck of light, you know, and this one speck of light is like holds the kingdom, you know, and the world is through imagination, you know, and light, which you could say is like the imagination of electricity. We're electric beings, right? You know, in the world, and we're like conduits, and the world's like this electric, you know, it's like whatever. They don't say this shit in the movie, but you know, that one speck of light is able to, through the imagination, you know, bring a different form of consciousness back to life, because you can't say like the darkness is not of, you know, there's darkness is part of the consciousness too. The interesting question is like, you know, these gurus and stuff talk about it's like good and evil, you know, and the Bible talks a lot about the Christianity is like, you know, good and evil, and there's obviously some fucked up shit that happens in the world, you know, and people do some really fucked up shit, and the world's really dark but really beautiful too, you know. You know, it's really dark and really light, you know, but, and who knows what it's all for, you know, but there's that like, yeah, through the nothingness taking over, and that one sad thought of like, oh, who knows what it's all for, and it's like, oh, fucking, like the world's fucked up, you know. It's like there's that one speck of light though, right, which is the imagination of the light that just like illuminates the darkness, and you know, it's like that the darkness can't withstand even a speck of light, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter how long the cave has been dark. As soon as you light the candle, it illuminates the whole cave.
Right.
And I like that what you're saying there, that the imagination is the light. That's a really cool concept there too, because I've been studying the goddess Saraswati, the Hindu goddess Saraswati, who is said to be the imagination. So she is basically she is the humanity, because we are, what separates us from the animals. What I was reading is like had this really interesting point that it is the imagination that separates us from the animals, and our ability to think of something that doesn't already exist. And so, like you're saying there, like when you find yourself in a really dark time or in a really sad moment, something that's happening that's really upsetting, that it takes that imagination to bring yourself out of that darkness and imagine a time when you're not going to be sad, to bring the light into that moment. It really does take the imagination to separate yourself from a seeming endless darkness.
And then it takes the imagination to, well, I don't know. Yeah. Because I was gonna say it takes the imagination to put yourself into it too, but I don't know what of this is not the imagination, right?
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, you can imagine yourself into a dark hole or into a blissful state of being.
Right. It's like choose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Choose. For sure. Yeah. The mind is definitely a tricky thing. Yeah. Plays lots of tricks because there's this duality going on, right? There's what we're talking about earlier again that you find in all this guru knowledge, like the doer and then the witness, so there's this like interesting duality to everything, but yeah, I kind of forgot what I was going to say, but yeah. Anyway, man, I unplugged my computer in. I could, but it's on 10%. We're about an hour.
Guys, well, this has been the Beyond Boundaries podcast, where we go beyond the boundaries of the norms and we slice it with a nice sharp knife and Vaseline it, zip tie it up, and throw it into the lake with a big cinder block on it, right wrapped around its balls.
Yeah, like Joey, what's his name? Like Joey Diaz.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So today was an interesting one. And I think that we'll have the balls to post something this out there, because I know people will still love us.
Hey guys,
we definitely could go beyond some boundaries. Liberal people will not like this one, even though we didn't make too many big claims about anything. I really feel
that's
like
the fucking shit. That's the shit about it, dude. Because I always consider myself liberal, and then like.
Me too.
It's like, and really we're more liberal than most of the people like claiming liberal, it's like you go too far this way or that way, it's like you're fucked either way once you start believing fucking anything,
Yeah, once you take a stand, then
it's like go back with it, go back here. It's all the same, but yeah, there's this unique design going on. So hey, whatever is like people just need to like talk and not take it so seriously. We're all gonna die, like which is scary, scary, but and doesn't mean it's necessary. Yeah, whatever. Doesn't mean it's dark. Not trying to be dark. Not trying to be dark about that, but yeah, whatever. I think liberal people would love this podcast anyway, or they should, so but, hey, it's not me to say what the fuck you should like or not like, so yeah, I could talk about this for hours. Kind of like what Wolfman's about. Like I created, something that's like, wanted to it's like how can someone else tell me what I'm supposed to think? That doesn't make sense. That makes no sense.
You have
Anyway.
to figure it out from experience.
You try to tell me that the peanut butter goes first and then the jelly goes second, but I'm telling you that you're nuts. You're crazy. You got something going wrong between those two ears of yours. The peanut butter goes on one piece, and then the jelly goes on the other piece, and then you put them together. You put that shit up in the microwave. Yeah, and then oh no, what do you mean? You gotta put the jelly on first, and then you gotta put it in the toaster.
Yeah.
Like, quick walk, baby. We don't want to hear that shit. So we don't know nothing. That is the Beyond Boundaries motto: is we don't know shit except we like to experience bliss. And when time comes for our next, we're just gonna move on to what's next. Okay. Cool.
What's next is bedtime.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Thank you for being here, Drew. It's really great talking to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Great.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Great to meet you.
Yo, hey, wait, real quick, smiley. Also, I could just take a picture before because this is not going to be posted for I don't even know a couple months or something. So, hold on. 3, 2. All right, do some weird shit. All right, cool. Love you guys.
Love you
All
too.
right, man.
See ya.
Cheers, brother.
Later.
Hey, Guru.
Thanks.